Okay, in this demo, we're going to show you how to put a frame on any kind of a painting or a mosaic. It's all the same way. So for this one, you want to kind of consider what is the top and the bottom of a piece. For this example, I'm going to keep it just as you see it, where this is going to be the top, that is going to be the bottom. You say, well, why does that matter? What you want to be able to do is when you cut wood, is that you want to keep the seam where these two join. You don't want to see that. You want to see a nice clean piece of wood on this side. So when people look at it from the side, they're not going to be bothered by that. Is it that big of a deal? No. Are you going to lose points on it? No. It's just one of those things that just makes something just a little bit better. Okay, so you want to make a conscious decision on that. So because this is going to be the top, I'm going to take an exact measurement from here to here and cut a piece of wood to fit there. And same thing with this one. Okay, now that I got the wood cut, you can see that they line up perfectly. I didn't cut them wrong. So now I need to take my next measurement. And that measurement, let me turn on the side so it's easier to see, is going to be on this side of the wood and on this side of the wood. So for example, when I cut that and measure it, it should be like this. You do not want to cut it like that. Okay, you don't want to have that gap. That's where you would lose some points. So I need to take a measurement from here to here, do the same thing on this side, and then I'm all done. Okay, I have I have my wood cut. So over top of that, it feels like it's good. It's actually a little off on this corner over here. So I'm going to take this back over to the chop saw because it's a little on the long side and just cut a width of the blade on that. Looking on this side is perfect. So then that's fine. Now, I am planning on making this black because I feel like simple black frames look the best on like every project. If you have a different opinion, that's perfectly okay. I'm going to show you 3 ways on how you can color this with it. If you intend to paint it or do like a fluid painting as an idea for a frame, the thing I want you to be aware of is this right here. The end of a board, when you buy something like over at Menards or whatever, they usually color code it. So then when you look at the side of a big pallet, you know that these are 8 foot long or 12 foot long or 10 foot long. So this is an indicator for something like that. This ruins your project unless it's something that's black and it's going to cover it up. If you have this on yours, this is where you would lose like 2 points or maybe 4 points depending on how many of them you have. So you got to make sure that you don't have these on any of your boards. I really need to emphasize that. If you're planning on using a black stain or a black paint or spray painted black, then it doesn't matter. When you get into those lighter colors, it has a tendency to matter. So we are going to do the next step on here, which is talk about how we're going to color your frames. So with coloring your frames, we are going to stain this. So typically, you always do this in the back room where the kiln is at. If it's nice outside, you can go outside and then you can put it on there. But let's get the stains out and we can talk about what they look like. Okay, so when you are ready to get stain, and this is also where we keep the spray paints. When I talk about that, this is where you're going to come. You're going to open up these doors and you will be able to get to them. Now, when you take it out of the doors, you got to put them back. Okay, they are a flammable material. And we're supposed to keep anything like that in something like this in case there was a fire. So you got to make sure that you don't leave them in the back room. I always have a tendency of some students doing that, so I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that. But let's open them up and see what we got. Once you open up the door, you're going to notice that there should be some kind of a piece of wood that if you open up big enough, you stick it by the hinge and it leaves the door open there for us. And then I also can open up this side to see what else we got. So this is all of our spray paint. And then down below over here is where our glazes. This is where all of our stain is at. So this one right here says True Black. That's my favorite. And if you're that kind of person that wants more of a natural color wood, then you can get into, this one's called Fruit Wood, which I've never heard of that before. This one's called Neutral. You get down here. You got to find the names because we have different brands that are on here. And you can kind of go back a little bit farther. This is golden oak. You can see that, and there's a pecan in there as well. The way that you typically know what color or what stain is going to look like, it's going to have a little bit of a picture here. But I was working on getting a number of these things made up. I'm trying to keep this in this corner where it does say golden oak on that. And this is one application, this is two applications. So if you do it twice, it will be a little bit darker. But for this demonstration, I'm going to stay with my one that I recommend everybody using, which is this black. So let's go over and I'll show you how to put the stain on. Okay, now that I got our stain that we're going to use on this, I should be all set. I got the wood that I want to do. Again, you're going to do all four of yours. I'm just going to do one just for a demonstration. So first off, when you work with the stain, you do want to kind of mix it up. This is a new bottle, so I'm just going to flip it like this. And I have a key that's going to be used to open this as well. So I'm going to stick this in, just slowly pop this up. Now, stain will, believe it or not, stain your hands. So you want to make sure that you put some gloves on. So I'm going to take that off, set that right there. So I'm going to put one on each hand. And this is, again, this is done either in the kiln room with the door shut and ventilation on, or it's done outside because it does have kind of a stronger odor to that. When I'm done with this, I'll just turn the vent on in here. It's not that bad. But I do have a small stick that you can stick it in there because you'll feel once you put it in there that it's really thick on the bottom. So you just want to see if you can pull that all the way up so your stain will be evenly mixed and you won't have any issues with that. So I'm just going to stir this around. While I'm doing that, you're also going to notice that I have a bucket that has a bunch of little fabric pieces in there. You're going to get that with the stain, and then you're going to put it on here. We don't use a brush for this. A lot of times when you do staining, if you take a woods class, you're going to learn that you hardly ever use a brush, but you have to use a rag to apply it. And thinner coats are better than one thick coat. We're typically only going to put one on anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I feel like that's pretty good. So I have this all set. I'm going to grab one of these pieces. And again, all these tools are in the kiln room. You just have to get it. There's a table in there with some cloth on there, and that's what we do most of our work. Stick that in here. You have that, and then you apply this. And the reason why I like stain versus painting or spray painting is that when this is setting down and drying on anything, it's not going to stick. While if you did something with another kind of material, with paint or spray paint, it has a tendency to stick to whatever it's touching. So you almost have to do it twice. You know, one day you do one side, the next day you do the other side. Because if you do the whole thing, it's going to ruin one piece of it at least. And around the sides here. I would also encourage you to put an apron on so you don't get any accidentally on you. And you do all sides because you don't really know exactly which side you're going to be ending up using anyways. So you might as well just do the whole thing because it doesn't really matter. Okay, then make sure that I have it on. If you feel like you have too much stain on, you can always grab one more rag and just kind of take off a little bit of what you had, and then you're fine. Now, you're going to keep this in the kiln room. Let's go back there so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now this is typically the room that you do everything in. Because over here is our spray paint, indoor spray paint area that we have. And we do our staining in here. So this is where you do it. But it's easier just for demonstration purposes to go out there and do it. So also in here, you should find masking tape and a marker. So you're going to put your name on a piece of tape. So I got this, and because when you put stuff back here, if it isn't labeled, there might be a chance that somebody might take it because they might think that it's theirs. So it's important that you have to label your stuff. Now, the way that I have this set up is that there should be a plastic label on here that you can easily put your name. So it goes on just like this. Okay. Not all of them have it. If they don't, sometimes the student will put it just like on the edge of here, and that works as well. Then when your board is all done, so it needs to dry, I'm going to stick this right here's mine, is I stick that right along here, and I just line them up along here, and it's good. If you are staining in here, you do need to have the ventilation on. And the way you find that is, I'm going to kind of turn the camera, is you just look around. Sorry, it's kind of messy. Here's our kiln. And then the back wall is over here. You're going to see this little light switch right here. And maybe you can hear that on there, but it just kicks on. And it pulls all the fumes out of here. So make sure the door's shut and that as well. Now I'm going to turn this back. And something else you might not have seen is I do have the door shut. Again, that's to make sure that the fumes stay in here. And our light switch is actually behind here. Now, I'm trying to make sure we don't destroy school property right now. That's why I have this all set, but obviously I need to bring that up higher. But just make sure you try to keep that down low and everything else, okay? Let me know if you have any questions. This should be dry within, let me kind of switch back over. So you should have all 4 of them on here, and this should be dry by the next day. And you're good to go. Thanks. Okay, and kind of to hit a couple extra things in the back room here. In the corner is where you're going to find all of our supplies that you're going to need for the project, except for, again, the stain, which is in that cabinet. There should be a small hammer back here as well as a rag. Once you are all done using this, I'd recommend that you put a rag over top of this, so then you can go around and hit it. So it seals this nice and good. And then again, where do you put this? Yep, you got to put this back inside of the yellow cabinet, okay? But we got to make sure it's closed, and I don't want you, when you hit the hammer with this, I want to make sure it doesn't go all over your clothes, okay? Other than that, I think you know everything for the project. Just let me know if you have any more questions. Thanks. Okay, this is going to be our spray paint demo for when you decide if you want for your mosaic or painting or anything on an application to design, or to be able to color your frame that you make. So you can do this for any project. You know where the spray paint is at now. I'm going to do 2 colors on this so you can kind of see. I am going to start with the lighter color first because, again, the black kind of covers it up better. Now, we do want to color the whole thing. And then, again, they are going to be putting it back up on top of this so it can dry. Now, there will be, or there very easily could be lines on here. So when you spray paint on this, you want to try to set these up like this, where the part that's touching the wire is a part that is going to be on the back, and you're not going to see it. So this would be the very front of the painting, and then you'd see a bit of this, and you would see this on the side. So whatever the very back is, you want to set it up like this. So I'm going to just spray paint it like that and already keep this upright. And I'm going to go in and add some color. Now, I'm staying with the school colors because I have a lot of school spirit right now. Okay, I'm going to take the black. Get the sides there. Kind of spitting it out a little bit. And then I should be good. Now I want to be very careful when I pick this up, and I'm going to just try to make sure just my fingernails touch it, and just right on the edge. And then that's good. And I do that 3 more times, and again, you're going to leave that sit for a little bit, for like a day, and then it should be good to go the next time around. So I hope that helps. You have so far you have about 3 ways that you can be able to put paint on this to figure out what you want to do for your project. So hope that there's another idea for you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Okay, so another way that you can decorate your frame again is, so far we've gone over how to stain it. You can spray paint it. And the last way is that I'm going to use paint for your last one. So we have the same issue that wherever this is sitting, it will stick to that. So you have to think about that when you start painting. So whatever side that you want to be your back, just like when we did spray painting, you're going to leave the side alone, and you're just going to make sure that everything else around here, including the ends, is painted. So it's however you want to do it. Now I'm just going to grab some paint brushes. If you already have your own, you can use those. Otherwise, by the sinks, again, is where you're going to be able to grab that. So I'm going to open up these containers. If you have any kind of a bottle, you know, or whatever that has paint on it, you can use that instead. So open these up. And I'm just not going to, I mean, if I want to paint the whole thing black, then I'd honestly just stain it because you have less problems with that. But if I want to have like a two-toned effect, I'm going to dip my brush in straight down and pull straight back up again, so you're not going to contaminate the colors. And I just want to have more of a kind of a crazier feel on there, then that's fine. Now again, I don't want to put paint on this side like I accidentally just did, because I want to keep this side down. So I'm going to come around here, get it on the edges. Again, staying away from that back. Now, so far on all the other ones that we've done, you leave them in the back room where the kiln is at, because they have, you know, just they have that smell, and I don't want people getting headaches all day long waiting for yours to dry. So that's why we keep it in that back room with that door shut. This one doesn't have that as an issue. So if you have room in your cubby, I want you to keep this in there, okay? Because we just would not have the room on top of everything else back there. If you don't have room in your cubby, then yeah, that's fine, I understand. But if you have room, do that. Almost done. I got my front here, got my side. I'm going to add one more. Again, you paint all of them. You might wonder, like, why do I have to do all the sides? Isn't my painting covered on this side? It is, at least most of it is, but you always have a little bit showing. So you want to have every side of this painted. Now, I don't want to overly mix my colors because I like that streaky look of that red and that black. And as long as every part of the wood is covered in stain or paint or spray paint, you will get a good grade on this part of it. So that is all done. So what I want to do is that I shouldn't really have any paint on here. If I leave a little mark with my finger, I can try to go back on there. Is get some more newspaper in your cubby if possible, and just slide this right in there with your other three. And again, if you don't have room in there, go in the back room, you know, find another shelf. You might have to share shelves with somebody, but it's not that big a deal. Lastly, make sure you take care of your brushes. Put the lids back on the paints. Again, once you paint anything that has paint on it, like this paper, you do have to throw it out because it's no longer recyclable. Last thing with this is if you want to do another, for those people who are doing fluid paintings, if you want to get all your wood cut and actually do another fluid painting on your frame instead, you're welcome to do that. Sometimes they work really nice and they're kind of cool. Other times it's really a big distraction because your artwork is your project itself, not necessarily the frame. So that's an artist choice that you make yourself. You won't lose any points for it. It's definitely a lot more work to be able to do that, but it is something that I have had people in the past do it. And like I said, sometimes it looks really cool and sometimes it doesn't. I think it depends on the colors that you choose. So other than that, again, just let me know if you need any help with anything, and good luck on your project. Thanks.